Hello and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are looking to substantially increase your caseload in the next 6 months, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, I have a special guest. I'm going to interview a gentleman that is going to blow your mind because he is an absolute expert when it comes to digital marketing for attorneys. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the great Doug Bradley. What's going on, Doug?
Well, thank you. I don't know if I can live up to that expectation. I appreciate it. You set the stage real nice, so I'll do my best. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I'm glad that you are on. So, Doug, I mean, we were chopping it up a little bit prior to hitting record. You have a definite great background, and we'll get into some of that. But before we do any of that, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Doug Bradley. I own Everest Legal Marketing. We really just focus on attorney marketing, specifically for websites, content marketing and search engine optimization, organic and local SEO. That's really our place in the marketing landscape for attorneys. That's really what we focus on and what we focus on for since 2017.
Awesome sauce. Everest. I love the name. Mount
Thank
Everest.
you.
So how did you come to that?
Good question. Kind of by chance. I had started out my business when I opened up, and I called it Bradley SEO Marketing, and decided when I incorporated that I needed something a little more professional, a little more polished, something that represented the tough climb it will take for my clientele to get to where they need to get in terms of visibility, leads, conversions, rankings, etc. So I really like the name Everest, and Mount Everest being the tallest mountain. So that's really what I wanted to kind of convey, is that that's the mountain that we tackle for our clients.
I love it. And where is your firm based out of?
So actually right outside of my home office here in Fontana, California.
Okay.
Been here since we started doing it.
California. Love it. So, for those of you who don't know, I always ask my guests, what would their topic what would they want the topic to be, what we're talking about? Sometimes they select it, sometimes they don't. But Doug has selected it, and I love the topic that he selected. And I want to talk about your selection. Is dignified and professional digital marketing for lawyers and law firm. Why dignified? Yeah. I love that. I love the word.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. It's you work with lawyers, so I think you probably run into this. Is that we have a clientele that wants to be found, but they don't want it to look like they're trying to be found. We have a clientele who they want to dominate, but that don't want to look like they're trying to dominate. And so we have, and for me, in my experience, most clients want to try a professional and dignified approach to that through their branding, through the aesthetic of their website, through the content, through the way they portray themselves on social media. Doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't room for coloring outside the lines or being wacky in some things, but I think the vast majority of attorneys really want to be portrayed as professional, dignified, and that you hire them to do a job and they do the job for you.
Yep, 100%. I agree. Now, one of the things that I noticed going back to my original question when we talked about who you are, you focus a lot on SEO. I want to dig a little on that so that people get to know you, people get to know who what your superpower is, if you
Yeah,
will.
dig away.
So I want to talk about that because SEO is a tough game,
Yeah, really tough game.
And it's an ever changing game. I tell that to my clients all the time. It's very tough. Me personally, we like to focus a lot on lead generation, pay-per-click
Sure.
marketing, et cetera, et cetera. We
Sure.
do some SEO as well, but our main focus is, that quick buck thing.
Yeah.
But the problem with doing it that way is that, people who have like a startup firm really can't play in that field. So that kind of shortchanges me. So leads me to my first question. Like, can a startup do SEO, and can they hire an SEO firm even if you're a startup?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do have a lot of clients who come to me that are startups. Either they're leaving a firm, they're fairly new attorneys, 1 or 2 years after passing their bar. And I often have very similar advice, not always, but often have the advice of, you might want to tackle the website either on your own or using a vendor who's going to build you a website, and then you can build the content on your own, build your practice pages on your own, because most startups have very low cash. If they have any cash at all, they really need to just get a website out that people can find them when they're searching for them. But they can build their content on their own to begin with. They don't necessarily need to know a lot about SEO. And doing that process on their own, when they actually go to hire an SEO agency or a digital marketing professional, they're going to know more about the ins and outs of the website and the complexities of things that they ask if they've done a little bit of work on their own. Of course, if they have a pile of cash that they're sitting on, you know where to find Frank and I. But if it's a really tight ship that you're running at the beginning, there's lots of platforms like Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, most platforms where you can get something up quickly and start to work on it yourself before turning it over to an SEO firm.
So I like that. I like what you just said. Now, so let's talk about that though. So launching a Weebly site, a Squarespace site,
sure,
even Wix, like what's your take on that? I mean, can you do that and be quote unquote dignified? Since we're talking about dignified marketing and stuff like that, like, because I feel in my, and give me a different narrative. I feel that when a person sees a site like that, it kind of like puts you, underneath the others. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's the execution. And it's really important to, if you're going to endeavor on this on your own, that you really have to spend some time on this. It's not something that you're going to learn overnight, and it's not something that you're going to be able to do instantaneously, but you can do a lot of heavy lifting relatively quickly, and still maintain a professional ambiance about your practice, about who you are, and still portray yourself as a professional. It's not going to compete against other professionally produced websites and presences, generally speaking. But I think, again, if we're putting it in the context of cash-strapped startup law firm, person who just got out of law school and they just need something up quickly to let people show what they do, show them what they do, I think those are still viable solutions. And those tools, Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, and some of the others, have gotten so easy to use over the last 5 to 10 years that you really can do a lot of that on your own without really knowing too much about marketing to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. I agree to some extent, but there's also the part, like, in my opinion, yeah, the website is one thing, the design and all that stuff, but the actual content on there is key. And a lot of lawyers write like lawyers.
They do. They do. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's tough to get around. That's tough to get around.
So what would you advise?
Yeah. And again, keeping it in the context of a startup law firm.
Yes.
If we're talking about homepage, practice page, bio, I think those are all things that our attorneys are equipped to generally write. And if they write with the position of solving the problem for their clients at the beginning, they can write a practice page. It may not be technically perfect, and you and I may look at that and say, wow, that's not really a technically well-written website page or a practice page or an article. But Google is a pretty forgiving entity when it comes to content, as long as it's not duplicated or wholly generated by ChatGPT or another AI tool. I do think that a lawyer on their own could generate a piece of content that is certainly marketable, but it may not necessarily do the job to compete against the larger firms who've been doing it for a decade. Again, it's in the context of trying to bootstrap some sort of a website presence to get you found when people are looking for you.
Right. And it's funny, you mentioned AI. I was going to ask you, you think, from a content perspective, do you think they should use something like a ChatGPT or any other of those content producing AI tools to get started, or would you advise against that?
I wrote a whole article about ChatGPT and using AI for content, and I still have the standpoint of to use it with caution. I think it can be used as a good start to content. It can it can generate great ideas. It can generate an outline. It might be used to supplement some content, maybe existing content. You maybe want to explore some different topics within an existing piece of content. I think when it's abused and you task ChatGPT or another tool with write a practice page about a personal injury attorney in Cleveland, and it just spits out a piece of content, copy, paste, publish, that is going to be a problem, not just for you for ranking. It's going to be a problem when Google goes and crawls that page and they are able to identify that it's pretty much all written by AI.
Yeah. It's funny. You said that, and I'm glad you did, because I got an interesting call from one of my clients who somehow heard on a webinar or something that Google no longer penalizes you for duplicated content. And I told him I think he was mistaken. So let's talk about that. Like, because a lot of people are saying that Google is less. Back in the day, you were heavily penalized. I mean, you can actually get your site shut down. So they're saying that Google has relaxed that a little bit. What's your take on that whole thing that Google's relaxing on the duplicate content issue?
I think from what Google says and from their website is that they rank high quality content that's written from a place of authority with experience, and they don't necessarily, at least this is what they say, they don't necessarily care if some of that was written by AI. Of course, Google is going to be, and already is, in the AI business. So for them to say we're not going to rank AI generated content would be a little bit counterintuitive. They want they want me to use AI tools because it's something that they're producing. Mm-hmm. That being said, I don't think that AI generated content is anywhere near where it needs to be for someone to just say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to generate all my content on ChatGPT. And, that's the process we're going to go through. As a matter of fact, we work with 6 legal writers that are US based. And just recently I gave them all a raise. And I said, I want you to value working for my firm and working with me because I want you to create excellent content for our clients. I could go to AI at any point that I wanted to, but I don't want to. I want to employ people. I want to provide access to making money for these writers that really do quality work. And in my opinion, AI just quite isn't there yet, not for legal content. It's a very specialized content area, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. I agree. It's such an interesting thing. It's still very new, still very, but I got to tell you, it is getting smarter.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's spooky how smart it is.
Yeah, it's getting pretty interesting. Another thing that I want to touch on what you do and specialize on is let's talk a little about social media. Yeah. I'm noticing a lot of attorneys now are all of a sudden popping up on not all of a sudden. I mean, they've been gradually going on to social media, and a lot of it happens to be after the pandemic.
Yeah.
So how can lawyers efficiently manage social media? I mean, let's say they don't want to hire someone like yourself. I don't do social media, so it's not me, but someone like yourself. If they don't want to hire a Doug Bradley or Everest to do their social media, what advice would you give them?
You can't outsource authenticity.
Wow.
You can't outsource authenticity.
I like
and
that.
So if you're going to do something and take on a platform like a TikTok or a Facebook or a LinkedIn, if you really want it to be effective, you have to authentically communicate personally. People engage with other people, not brands. And so when I'm doing social media and I'm doing some YouTube videos, or I'm doing something specific for my website, and maybe I'm doing a video or something on Facebook or Twitter, it's me personally that's doing it. I'm a part of a brand, and just as a lawyer individually would be a part of a brand, their law firm. But if they want engagement, if they want people asking questions, commenting, and sharing, they really need to be engaged personally. That's not something you can hire a Doug for, a Frank for, or really anyone else at this point. Maybe someday with AI, they can generate a talking head, and you can feed it a script and it can spit out a TikTok video. That might be a good technology to invest in. But at this point, I don't think you can really substitute genuine, authentic engagement and content production just by paying for it. We do something on our end, and I see a lot of lawyers do this, where we help brand a client and help brand them with a message and keep them top of mind awareness through strategic posts about their practice or things going on in their city. But again, if you really want an engaged audience, you really need to do it personally.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's, one of the reasons why we don't offer social media marketing is because of that. I mean, it's very difficult. But I want to share a funny story with you guys and the rest of the audience here.
Please do.
I have a personal injury attorney that we do work for, and he's got this vendetta against this one particular guy that's in the courtroom. And he
sounds about right.
He just doesn't really like him. Because my client is very, he's just a very straight-laced guy. He does his work. He's been doing personal injury for over 20 years. He's very, authentic and everything like that. And this other guy is just kind of wild.
Yeah.
And he sees them all over TikTok. He sees them all over Instagram, doing all these crazy stunts and stuff like that. So he goes, Frank, you know what? I'm going to do that. Do you know a videographer? And I'm like, hey, his name is happens to be Doug as well, by the way. I said, Doug, what are you talking about? And he shows me on his phone the guy.
Yeah.
And I said, that's not you.
Right. For sure.
And the people who are following you are going to see right through it. He can do that. That's his personality. I said, is Absolutely. He like that in the courtroom? He goes, he's just like that in the courtroom. Exactly. That's why he's pulling it off.
Right. I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to fake when you're trying to convey a genuine emotion.
Yeah.
Actors might do it really well. But the attorneys, just people in general, have a hard time coming off as wildly entertaining or funny if they're just not. And I'm including myself in that audience there. I'm not wildly entertaining or funny. And there's nothing for anybody to see on TikTok about me.
Right.
But if you've got that personality and you've got the humor, you've got the shareability, the likability, the approachability that lends itself to the social media environment, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not taking advantage of it personally.
Exactly. And I want everyone to hear what Doug and I are saying, because that is so true. In 2024, do not try to be someone you're not. Anyway.
Amen.
we talked a lot about Chat GPT, which is a great tool.
Sure.
But let's talk a little bit about some other tools that say, for legal marketing that you would advise a lawyer or anyone to use.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying today's content. While I have you on here, I want to introduce you to a promo that we have going on for the spring of 2024 for all legal practices throughout the U.S. I have an outstanding offer that we've never been able to offer before, but we want to do it because you have been an avid listener. We're only promoting this to people who listen to the show. So if you're an attorney and you are an avid listener to the show and you're thinking about possibly opening your own practice, you want to pay attention to this announcement. We are offering a full website with hosting, SSL certificate, online booking service, online appointment management, and more, and much more, with a 1-year maintenance, all for $2,250. That's $2,250 one-time fee, and you have a full-fledged website. If you want to know more about this, just give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at info@lbmsllc.com. Just make sure that you mentioned that you heard it on the show, and we'll definitely get you that discount. So with that, I'm going to bring you back to the content.
Yeah, so I think the tools that a lawyer should really be personally engaged with, the simplest ones that you and I probably find the most obvious, but maybe a lawyer wouldn't, would be their Google business profile and Google Analytics. The reason is because your Google business profile is a direct reflection of who you are, who your firm is in Google Maps. So when someone Googles your name or finds your profile by doing a key phrase search, all of that is generated inside Google business profile. And it can show you phrases that people are searching. It can show you how many times someone clicked on your website. It can show you how many times someone did a click to call or generated driving directions to your office. It can tell you so much about what's going on in relative real time. And it could show you that history. And so I think most attorneys should make sure that they're at least looking at that on a monthly, if not weekly basis, just to take a look and see it. Add photos, add Google posts, link to your social media profiles if you have them. Use that as a tool to help make sure that you're controlling what you want people to see when they Google your name. So that, I think, is just a layup when it comes to important tools. The other thing is Google Analytics. If you're not validating what you're doing, or even what your SEO firm is doing, or what your marketing firm is doing, it's hard to make decisions to grow, to retract, to keep going forward. It's hard to make decisions about what content is generating traffic. Many of my clients, as I'm sure yours are too, they seem to think that if they write an article or their practice page will get most of the traffic. But looking at Google Analytics of hundreds of law firms, it's usually the homepage, the attorney profile, and oftentimes, if it's a great piece of content, an article or a handful of articles. And those are the things that create good traffic to a website. But you wouldn't know that if you weren't looking at Google Analytics on at least a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, you have to be on top of it. What's your take on tools like like my case and what's that, Clio, and all of those tools for attorneys?
Yeah, I do think that those are great tools to take advantage of, especially if you have an internal marketing team, or if you're an attorney that's really engaged in your marketing effort, you're going to want those types of tools at your side to tell you where a lead came from, did it convert, so you can see the client journey all through the end. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't see this, most clients have never heard of Google Business Profile, and most clients have never heard of Google Analytics. And if they have, they certainly aren't looking at them. And that's why I say that those things are two of the most important, mainly because they're two of the most impactful that give you the most information as much as possible. But there's lots of tools that I love that help with the marketing process. So, yeah.
So one of the things that you do, which intrigues me, is that you do a lot of content marketing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But for me, it's do you, well, let me back up. Do you provide, say, a newsletter for the attorneys?
So with our business, we actually don't provide newsletters, mainly because it's work that we do not want to do. I learned a long time ago that I want to do the work that I want to do, that I'm passionate about, that I love doing. And for me, that's search engine optimization, specifically for law firms. I love marketing law firms because it's so competitive, and it really helps you. To me, I love competing against other law firms, because law firms who are doing it, they often are trying to do it really well. And if I can punch above my weight class, to me, that's really satisfying. If I knock somebody off page 1, or maybe I take the number 1 or 2 or number 3 spot from somebody, that's a really competitive search phrase. I really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. I get it. So your content marketing is more geared towards SEO, that, and maybe some social media stuff.
Sure.
Okay, distributing content that way. Okay, not newsletter.
Yeah, and I also like to engage with professionals that really enjoy that work. So I work with a PR firm that does legal PR, and that firm will do newsletters for law firms. They'll do also placements in local media for verdicts and settlements. They'll do all of that, but they really like doing that. And when I'm coordinating with that other company, we're putting together a really cohesive and quality message, because each entity is doing what they're really good at doing. Yeah. And we're not trying to do something that we're not good at. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. No, I got you. No, the reason I ask is because sometimes, to me, it's like pulling teeth to get someone to do a newsletter, because I really believe in it. I think, especially 100%. If you're a family law attorney or estate planning, not so much personal injury, but family law, estate planning, which it's a longer process to get to that person to say, oh, you're the person I want. Sure. You definitely should have a newsletter. And
it's a different type of a message than practice page or article content. It's a different message. It's a different structure. It's a different approach, a different tone. Everything about it is different. And when a client asks me about it, I want to make sure that my name is on the line, and I'm placing that client, that attorney, in the hands of another professional who's one of the best at it.
Exactly. Awesome. I want to go back a little bit, because I feel like I don't want to shortchange anyone here that's listening. I feel like I left people hanging when we were talking about startups, and we kind of left it there at startups, and we talked a little bit about Wix. We talked a little bit about, Squarespace and all that kind of stuff. But let's go back to the startup law firm, because I think in 2024, a lot of people are going to be saying, you know what, I want to start a law firm. Sure. And so let's get into those people. What do you recommend, say, a new lawyer to do first when they're starting a law firm?
Tap their network. Let their network know that they've started a law firm and that they're on their own, and here's what they do. Just letting people know is an incredibly powerful approach. Just by letting people know that you're now out there, that you've hung your shingle, and that you're ready to be hired for these types of cases, that can increase the referral rate virtually overnight. If your friends that you've worked with in the past, other law firms, know that you're now on your own, and a case comes across their desk and they can't work it, you now can become that pool of a referral for that attorney. I think that's incredibly powerful for someone who's just starting out on their own. Tell their network what they're doing. One of the other things, and this might be kind of funny and maybe old school coming from an SEO guy, but don't shortchange the things that have worked the best for decades. Conferences, local bar events, lunching with other attorneys, the personal connection that you create with other people. And same in the SEO world, it's going to come back to you. Go to conferences, get your name out there. In addition to, doing the things for your website, and in addition to doing the things for your social media, those things can work, but they take time. Your best bet, to me, in my opinion, is to go out and let people know what you do, where you do it, how you can help, what type of cases you want referred, and then refer them back cases that you can't work yourself.
Yeah. So, but digitally, a nice quick website like we talked about before, maybe on Wix or whatever.
Sure.
Even GoDaddy, as I cringe saying that.
No, I got GoDaddy. No, I'm going to disagree with you. A hard disagreement there, Frank, because no, you can do anything other than GoDaddy. Don't do a GoDaddy website.
Right. No, actually, we do agree on that. That's why I said I cringe with that. But yeah, so just a nice, Wix, Squarespace, whatever, and then do some. I guess do some keyword research to do what people are searching, at least while you're doing the boots on the ground type of stuff that you talked about. Get your brand settled, right?
Yeah. When I say these things, it's not me saying these are the only things you should do. Correct. These are the things. Everything is what you should be doing. You need to have some sort of a website. You need to have a content strategy. You need to have some social media in place. You need to have a listing strategy. Make sure your listings on Justia are on point. Make sure your listings on Yelp are on point. Make sure that when people are Googling your name, they're going to find you. Get listed in every legal directory that you can for free. And also go to conferences, do all of the boots on the ground type of work. Those are all things that I think should be paid attention to. And then once you've gotten yourself to a stable cash flow position and you can bring in a marketing partner that can dedicate expertise to law firm SEO and marketing, that's when I think you should make that move. But I think a lot of attorneys that are starting up a law firm, they think if I just get my website on page one, I'm going to get this flood of leads that come in and I'm going to be overwhelmed and I'm going to have to hire people. Doesn't really work that way.
No, doesn't. I'm glad you said listings though, because I fight tooth and nail. Coming from an SEO guy, you're an expert, and I'm glad you hear that, because I talk a lot about that to my customers about having listings.
Yeah,
some believe in it, some don't, but a lot don't.
Yeah,
too much to make it nerve-wracking for me. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I actually came from lawyers.com. That's where I got my start in legal marketing. So I have a really good understanding of legal directories. I worked at superpages.com, a yellow page directory, for a number of years. So for me, listings are free advertising. The other thing that listings do on legal directories is they aggregate throughout the internet. So when you put a listing on Yelp, you're not just putting a listing on Yelp, you're also putting a listing on Apple Maps. You're also putting a listing on many other tools that aggregate information from either Google, Bing, or Yelp, or other directories. So that's something that, at least fundamentally crucial for SEO, is directory listings.
Yep. Reaching to the choir. I love it. But I love it when someone else says it.
Yep.
So I'm glad you said that, and I didn't even have to probe you. So that's awesome. So out of curiosity, what's this has been really, really great. What's the website where people can find you?
EverestLegalMarketing.com. I'm fairly active on Twitter, fairly active on my Facebook page and LinkedIn. Not doing any crazy dances on TikTok quite yet. Maybe someday in the future, but I don't have the body for dancing. I have the body for computers.
Hey, I have a proposition for you. I hate video. You looks like you don't like it either. Let's do a video in 2024 on TikTok just to make people laugh.
Let's do it. Let's blow it up. I don't think anybody will watch it, but we can do it.
Yeah. All right. So I understand you have a free gift for people who are listening. I would love to let's talk about that. You have an SEO audit, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us what they get with this audit.
So the free audit is a basic search engine optimization audit of how you appear in Google Maps, what your listings say about you. If you have listings, they make some basic comparisons against other law firms. Talks about some of the problems that an attorney might have with their online reputation, and it gives you a really nice snapshot of any type of opportunity that a law firm might have if they're doing marketing on their own, or if they want to just do it and give it to their vendor. If you just do a Google search for free law firm website audit, Everest Legal Marketing is usually the number 1 or number 2 spot. Click on it, pop in your business name. We'll do a free profile for a audit for you. And if you schedule time with me, I'll also go into a bit more depth analysis using Ahrefs to do an analysis of what you're ranking for, the value of those rankings, what your domain rating is, and what types of domains are linking to you. So we definitely encourage an educated client.
Awesome sauce. I will definitely put a link to that in the show notes. So if anyone who is interested, who's listening right now, park your car, click on that link in the show notes right now, and take them up on that SEO audit so that you can check it out for yourself. Anyway, before I let you go, is there anything I did not ask you that you think would benefit the audience?
We covered a lot in this meeting, and I appreciate your time and the platform and your audience greatly for that. I think one of the things that is annoying to lawyers and really pisses them off is the bad experience that they've had with people who've said that they do SEO. And you and I have probably come across a lot of examples where a website developer will have on their website, oh, we do SEO, and then they start charging the client monthly several hundred or several $1,000s a month. And then we look back at our tools and say, this company isn't really doing anything for you. So what I would want to make sure that any lawyer who's endeavoring on this on their own or looking to hire an SEO agency is look at their history, talk with them, interview them, look at the clients that they work with, look at the type of visibility that those clients have, and really validate for yourself that this firm that you're going to work with knows how to do SEO for law firms specifically.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that. What is the value of hiring an agency that specifically focuses on that niche, like in this case, lawyers? What's that value for you?
Yeah, the value of hiring a niche specific firm, whether it's law firms or whether it's realtors, doesn't matter what the niche is, what the industry is that you're getting the advantage of all of the knowledge base and historical knowledge of that agency. Generally speaking, a law firm marketing agency will know generally not to use the word specializes in their content, because that could get you in trouble with your state bar.
Yep.
But you and I'm sure there's a lot of attorneys who've seen websites where they describe themselves as specializing in personal injury or specializing in family law. And it's things like that where we can identify, we don't do that, we don't do this, we don't give advice, we don't make claims that are untrue. We have strong disclaimers, all of these things. And we also generally have a really good understanding of what drives a law firm's cash flow. So if you do probate law, maybe you also do estate planning. Maybe you also do other things. And maybe there's some services in there that we can expose and help target some new clients for you that an unexperienced or a non-specialist might not necessarily know about.
Yep, exactly. Awesome. Well, I'm glad I asked that question because it spurred on that that question for me as well. So, but anyway, I really, really, really enjoyed our time together here, Doug. Thanks for accepting my invitation to come out and educating my audience. So with that, I am going to put an end to this episode. This has been a great episode. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Doug Bradley. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms, the podcast that provides you with all the latest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you would like to know more about the topic we discussed on the show today, reach out to Frank and his team at 888-416-7752 and schedule a discovery call with one of the marketing consultants. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, send an email to podcast@lbmsllc.com and we will put you on the schedule. With that being said, until next week, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.